Okay, so for this question, I didn't, just to quickly finish off with the isometric drawing, I didn't see that it asks us to label, provide a dimension, an overall dimension, and because I've said that I don't want you to, for this subject, for year 11, I'm not worried about threaded sections, but just for the sake of argument, how we would draw a threaded section is we draw this diameter. The big diameter, which is the M10, will be the outside. So how I would dimension that is the outside dimension. So for instance, if I wanted to write D equals, or 10 millimeters, or another way of writing that is I could just write 10 diameter there. And the internal dimension, which I can draw, in this case, I will go this way, will be D min, and that will depend based on whether or not it's a fine or coarse thread. We'll talk more about that next year. Okay, so to provide an overall dimension, when we dimension, we should draw a thin, dark line that does not touch. We draw our extender lines down, and we'll go about 2 millimeters past, so that there is 2 millimeters. I'm just showing you. To draw your arrows, you start from where they meet. You draw an arrow that's 3 millimeters long and 1 millimeter flared out, 3 millimeters long and 1 millimeter out. I'll draw that up on the board in a second. So if this is how I draw my arrows, typically you're supposed to draw from where they touch out. And I'll just put some other details with a different texture. Okay, so this here, that's green as well. This is 2 millimeters. This is 3 millimeters. That is 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter. Now, something that's important is the way that when we label these things, that where we write. So I didn't measure this, so I have no idea. I can take a guess. It's probably 60 millimeters, say. There is a requirement of where we write on our shapes. So I'll talk about this more in more detail next year. But if I have my object that looks like this and I want to label it, the way that I label it depends on which side I'm on. For the 2018 test, I won't be asking you to dimension for the prelim. And it's typically that I don't ask dimensions. It's very uncommon in the HSC. The last time, about 5 years ago, they asked people to dimension a drawing, and they just asked you to provide one dimension. So one circle and one overall dimension is probably pretty good. Okay, I wish I'd done these differently because this green texture happens to be thicker. But let's say it's 100 by 100, so I write 100. I always write my numbers above and to the left, like Beyonce. Yeah, how I remember it is I draw it like the number 4, and so the number 4 is pointing in 2 directions. It's pointing up and to the left. If that helps you, that helps you. I don't know, you can remember the Beyonce method, but that's how when you label your dimensions, this is how you do your dimensioning. Okay, so that is